away, tariki away. Koe te ariki, te kaiwhakaora, no te ao katoa. E nei o iwi, e inoi atu nei, rohatia mātou. Manaki te mai mātou, I roto I tēnei awa, aue, te ariki aue. Aue, te ariki aue. Oh, kia ora, kia ora, kia ora. What is the time? Well, it's late. It's after 9:30, and thank you to those of you who have tuned in tonight. I've had a few people ask, where am I? And I just want to say, I'm going to take these glasses off because I can see the glare. And I don't like the glare. It puts me off while I'm looking at my screen. So my mokopuna has been in hospital, and that's been an interesting journey in itself. He's 9 months old, and he's a beautiful baby. And what he had was bronchiolitis. And so this week, my kōtero had been on maternity leave all this time. So the baby's 9 months old. Kia ora everyone. Kia ora nāwai. Kia ora Nana, Kui. Kia ora Han. Kia ora Catherine. Kia ora Alfred. Thank you for joining in. So my kōtero's been on maternity leave for about 9 months. And she started work this week, and our Pipi, our mokopuna, got really sick. He ended up with bronchiolitis and ended up in hospital. And so I was doing the nanny thing, right, and tagging the parents out, in and out, so that they could still attend mahi. Now, I mean, I wasn't even going to discuss this, but I might as well while I'm having a kōrero. It was interesting. So only those parents or grandparents or family members that were staying with the babies were allowed in. Only one person at a time. And then there were all these screens, right? All these covers and mask and I remember when Dad was in hospital, it actually took me back. And there was a lot of quarantine happening in this ward, and plastic covers coming down from one ward to the other, and then quarantine in all these rooms, and plastic covers as you walk through the door. And I was like, holy hecka. And it wasn't until our mokopuna left, he did have a room of his own, that I realised he was in the COVID ward. Now, I've got to follow this up, right? Because at the time we were just worried about the Pepe, but I was watching, I was like, gosh, there's a lot of sick babies that are quarantined and, that need special attention. Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to follow it up with our DHB, and I'm going to follow it up with the ward, that we were in a COVID ward. And our mokopuna didn't have COVID because he was already tested, right? He didn't have COVID. And we knew that he had bronchiolitis. So this is because of the flu virus, right? And getting bronchial. And my children had it. All the mokopuna had it from time to time. And they either get over it at home or sometimes they need oxygen. And so our mokopuna was in hospital to get oxygen. They didn't have him on antibiotics or any other medication apart from the oxygen. Here's the question, and it's still freaking me out to this day, is why would you put a very ill baby into a COVID ward? A baby that has respiratory sickness, he had bronchiolitis, but he didn't have COVID. So we had cleaners coming in and out. We had people delivering the kai, people fixing our TV, and they weren't wearing covers or anything like that. So because our baby didn't have COVID, but were going into the bedrooms of the babies that did have COVID. Why would you put a non-COVID baby with a COVID with a ward full of COVID babies? So I've got to get answers for that. But it wasn't until the mokopuna had left hospital that it dawned on us that this was happening, right? So because the thing is that a virus and the flu can take out vulnerable babies and vulnerable elderly people or those that are immunocompromised. So it doesn't matter if it's COVID or the virus, which is a flu. They're very dangerous for certain people in our community. Why would you put a vulnerable baby that's still uh, grasping for air himself into a ward full of COVID patients? Yeah, I thank you, Paula. I am, but it dawned on me: is it because we are unvaccinated? We're an unvaccinated family. Is that the reason why our mokopuna was thrown into a COVID ward? And those are the questions I'm going to be asking. Funny thing too is nominations closed today at 12 o'clock for all our local government. So good luck to all our Māori candidates that are standing in Kirikiriroa in our Māori wards. There's a couple that I'm aware of that are standing who I know. So good luck to us all. It's really good to see our kanohi out there wanting to go and represent our people. And, we all come from different backgrounds, different experiences, education, the taiao, kingitanga even, here in the Waikato, and me from an advocacy, environmental, RMA, gosh, you name it, been there, done that. But that comes with age too, whānau. But I'm really excited about the campaign because it's the first time we've got Māori wards, and I'm looking around with interest around the mutu to see how many Māori put their hands up. Because we fought really hard. I fought hard, and so many others fought hard to get our Māori wards. I fought hard against oppressive names or those I didn't want, for example, Bryce Street, which we walked down, or Von Tempsky Street. This is trauma from myself personally. I mean, they were part of the genocide of my own tupuna, and so I was part of an active working campaign to get rid of those street names and bring back the traditional names, the traditional mana whenua names, instead of glorifying rapists and murderers of women and children. So I went on that local government campaign. There's many aspects that I've been in. My background is local government. I've worked in local government. So yeah, I'm really excited. As you know, I've put my name up running for mayor. Probably won't have a chance of becoming mayor of Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. But the reason why I put my hand up, whānau, is there's some serious inequities that I'm seeing in our city, even though it's a beautiful city. And give credit where credit's due. Our councillors have done a pretty good job. Done a pretty good job. But there's still some issues, and I still believe that I can put some real challenging debates on the tipu. So I'm looking forward to having further conversations with you. But the reason why I've been offline is because my mokopuna has been in hospital, so we've had other priorities. Um, oh, kia ora. Thank you all for your support. Absolutely. And I am running under the banner of the Outdoors and Freedom Party as the co-leader. Now, I want to, a sort of a bit of a summing up, I guess, a summing up of what's been happening during the week. And I wanted to start with, I guess, Dr. Labour MP, and this is his first time as an MP. He was actually our doctor, our local doctor here in Kirikiriroa. So he won the Hamilton West. Dr. Gaurav Sharma, honestly, he's a lovely, lovely man. And he really cares about his community. And I've campaigned with him in a couple of campaigns actually, so I know him pretty well. And like I say, you couldn't meet a nicer guy actually. And he wasn't born with with a silver spoon in his mouth, as they say. He's experienced homelessness, and he's picked himself up, and he's a doctor now. And he's done amazing mahi as a doctor in our community, and he's doctored a lot of our whānau in the community. So I wanted to start this conversation tonight talking about Dr. Sharma and the courage it took for him to stand up, because he's standing up against his own party. And some commentators are saying he's thrown the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, and Caucus and the senior executives under the bus, because he's accusing them of serious bullying. And those of you that don't know, I have a background in workplace bullying. So I'm an advocate in that space, and it's chronic here in New Zealand. And they deal with workplace bullying under the Employment Relations Act, when in actual fact it should be dealt as a crime, not as a civil offence. In other countries around the world, it is classed if you bully, because people become sick. People have had strokes and heart attack, stresses. It breaks up marriages. People become alcoholics, abusive. All those negative things that happens when someone's under extreme stress. Workplace bullying is the worst, and especially for men. You know why? Because men are our providers, right? They provide for their wives, and they provide for their children. They provide for the community. And if they're getting bullied at work, it's not good on them. And I've worked in this space for many, many years, and I can tell you, it's quite a horrendous mahi to do on both ends. One, as an advocate, and people are so traumatized that a lot of people are suicidal at the end of being bullied. So I just thought it was interesting that we'll have that conversation about Dr. Gaurav Sharma and what he's brought to light. And then I want to go back to this whole Sam Uffindale and privilege, and I got a real negative response, and I changed the wording. I changed the wording to colonial privilege. And I refuse to use color pigmentation again, because I think that's what really upset people. So I apologize for that. But, you know, colonial privilege stems from colonization, stems from racism as well. And those indigenous people around the world understand what that looks like and how it feels to be not the oppressor, but be the oppressed. And so I'm not too sure if people took it out of context, or they was just wanting to just give me some love, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, so I wanted to also continue on with that conversation, because I think bullying and I'm talking about Sam Uffendale. And as a young kid, he was a bully. And I get it, and I do believe that people should get second chances, um, even third chances. But here's the thing, and I've worked in this space, and I've worked with the rangatahi, and I've worked in the criminal justice system. And these kids are written off before they're 20. And when they would say they want to bring back the three strike rule, well, that is to me, is a racist three strike. Yeah, the three strike rule, which three strikes basically you stay in jail forever. That is a racist law, and the reason why it's a racist law is because it's brown people that are going to get captured in it. And I think Sam Uffendale is a prime example of colonial privilege, wealthy colonial privilege. One with Māori, just being Māori already. You're born Māori, then you're already born uh, um, with things against you. And I'm going to show you. So my internet connection's not the best tonight, so I'm just warning you. But I want to show the $100 race for some of you that haven't seen it. And I think it's such an important because it shows you it shows you visually what inequities look like. And then and it's not because the African American community or the Puerto Rican community have done anything in this particular $100 race, or that the Anglo-Saxon people in that race did anything. It is what it is, and what it does is it shows how privilege is created. So I didn't want to talk about privilege and get hundreds of people upset. What I'm trying to do is educate, inform, and bring people along. This is my page, and and I try really hard not to delete people. But if I think people are just there to love on me, if you know what I'm saying, and you're just gonna troll me, then I will get rid of your comments. I will get rid of you. But I haven't done that yet because I believe that everybody has the right to their own opinion. And this is not just an opinion. This is not just an opinion. This is based on lifetime experience, and not only just from my own personal experience, but also from the mahi that I've been involved in over many years. Okay, so we'll start with Dr. Sharma. And what Dr. Sharma basically has said in his opinion piece in the New Zealand Herald um, is that he has raised concerns of bullying, including by parliamentary services, but did not name anyone specifically responsible. However, uh, what he has done is he said one of the most clearest examples was on the night of the America's Cup final race, where McNulty asked me to come to his room for a meeting on a very short notice. But when I got there, I was advised that he had to be in an important meeting, so I couldn't make it. I spent close to 2 hours sitting with Kieran McNulty's staff in his office, being told how terrible a manager I was with no right of reply. But what was most sickening was that when I came out, I saw photos of him drinking and celebrating the America's Cup final while I sat in his office like a school kid in the headmaster's office. So the Post also alleged misuse of taxpayers' money by an unnamed Labour MP in August 2021. And what else is so pretty much what he's done? Sharma said that he slowly fell into a cycle of stress and depression, which is normal for those that experience bullying. And he said, I thought to myself about how, despite listening to and assisting many of my constituents with bullying and harassment issues, I had to put a bold face up as I struggled every day with the thought of contemplating suicide. Now, this is really, really serious because suicide, some people have, because of workplace bullying, actually committed suicide. I've been on suicide watch in the mahi that I've done in the past. This is real and this is really serious. Um, and so I don't want this to be a long life, but we've got to look at what's happened to us over the last 2.5 years. And, is this a reason why our young kids, our rangatahi, are just going crazy? I've never, in all, mind you, I'm only very young, but no, but in all the years that I've been around, I'm a grandmother now, and it won't be long that I'll be a great grandmother. So that's 4 generations, and I've just never seen young ones act out in the way that they've acted out. When young children act out, it's usually a cry for attention or for help. And is this part of what? Is this the impact that the 2.5 years of lockdowns, coercion, mandates, families losing their livelihoods, losing their lives, losing their health? There's just so much that has happened and no one's listening. And it's a bit like what Dr. Sharma's saying. He's brought this to the attention of many people and gone through the proper processes, and it's fell on deaf ears. And so he's done this article piece. You can pretty much guarantee his career has gone, his political career has gone. But I tell you what, we will welcome him back in our community like that, because he was a doctor, a community, he contributed to his community before he was a Labour MP. So anyway, uh, Sharma denied coming forward with his own bullying allegations at the same time the National Party was facing its own crisis related to MP Sam Uffindell. The reason the opt came out yesterday was because the meeting was called by the Labour whips yesterday at a time and a place of their choosing, and in that meeting they continued to uh, laugh at my face, saying in front of my lawyer, how will you even sue us? You have no legal rights, while repeatedly refusing to investigate anything I've said or investigate me for any issues, alleged Sharma. So, a Labour spokesperson reiterated that the party disputed Sharma's allegations. As previously stated, there have been ongoing issues between Gaurav and some of his staff that his Facebook post provides further confirmation of. I'll just quickly read another article that says PM, the Prime Minister rejects. Oh, sorry, no. The former Labour MP is appalled by Gaurav Sharma mouthing off. So what he's done is he's cast the net of allegations wide. He's named the Speaker of the House, Trevor Mallard. Well, hey, you don't have to be an expert in bullying to know that Trevor Mallard is a bully. We saw what he did at the occupation. We saw what he did to people that elected him into power. So he can do that to ordinary citizens. He's also assaulted other members of parliament. He is a bully and he should be got. Well, he's going anyway, but there's no way that we want that type of ilk representing us. They are members of parliament. They are the House of Representatives. They are there to represent you and I, not the other way around. We've got to keep on reminding them of that. Sharma even implicitly draws Jacinda Ardern into his accusations, writing, politicians, especially at the top of our current system, and from parties across the political spectrum, often talk about changing the system and kindness. But as the saying goes, charity must start at home. So, I won't carry on with this article, but you get the gist, eh? And I know this person personally. I know him personally, and I've campaigned against them actually. But no, I mean we're part of his medical centre as well, and it's a real shame that he's had to go to this extreme to be heard, to this extreme, because is bullying so entrenched in the Labour Party that that they that they just don't get it. They just don't understand how their actions impact on people. You got to be thick-skinned to be a politician. You got to be thick-skinned. You're going to get dealt some doozies. You got to be able to stand your own. You got to be able to hold your own. But what saddens me is that our country need politicians like that. Need politicians. I hope that he's done this and now he's put his name forward for local government, because I'm sure he'd probably get close today. But wouldn't it be great if he just come back to our community? And it concerns me that sort of behaviour in Wellington, because we've also heard of sexual harassment and sexual abuse, and again at that level. So basically our system has to change because it's rotting from the top down. And I was going to do a video. I'm just not too sure how my link's gonna how my connections gonna go tonight. And I don't really want to bore you, but it's important that we make the links. Okay. So I'm going to try it, but if it starts playing up, I'll stop it. So I'm going to share this video. Okay. And I just say, in regards to Dr. Gaurav, good on him. Good on him. And I wish him really well. And, we as a whānau will... Oh, okay. It's not doing too well, is it? I've never seen that happen. Like, it's not flashing on my screen. It's flashing in StreamYard. So it's obvious they don't want me to play this one. This one was about Dr. Renee, don't know how to pronounce her surname, Hoenderkamp. Bullying and coercion is not a good reason to get vaccinated. And I was listening to part of her kōrero, and it was a great kōrero. Oh, here we go. No, we might be right now. So we'll just try it, eh? I'll play it, see how we go.
Wanting to get boosters, and that's great if they want to. But would you really queue up 5 hours for one?
I know. I find this really, interesting that we've actually reached a point where people are so scared by the story that they're being told that they will queue for 5 and 7 hours. But what worries me more, Mike, is that we've still got 25% of our care home residents not having had a booster. And if we're going to give boosters, surely our priority should be to give it to the people who are most likely to die. And that isn't healthy under 30-year-olds. And yet I am seeing under 30 healthy people who have not only had COVID, but they've had 3 boosters. And yet the rest of the world, the developing world, places like South Africa and the rest of Africa, don't have vaccines. we're constantly accused of being selfish for not wearing masks and not doing this and not doing that. Are we not being selfish as a nation by not looking around the world and having a more global view on this?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Because unfortunately, we keep hearing from the government that, well, the thing is, we haven't really got the data yet to be able to judge whether this is dangerous. It might be much more dangerous than we know. But they have got some data. They just keep ignoring it, don't they?
Well, I think they have got some data, and there's lots of good data coming out of South Africa. And let us not forget that while South Africa does have a much, much younger cohort of people than we do, all of Africa does, the average age in Africa, I think, is about 20. So yes, of course, they have an advantage there. They also don't have vaccines like we do. We're on to our 4th vaccine. So we are in a far, far better place than any of those countries. And yet, when we listen to those countries and the chief medical officer there, they are looking at us like we're bonkers and saying, what are you doing? This is a mild disease. And I think it's time for us to step back and say, look, we've done everything we can. We need to live with this virus, like Chris Whitty says. We've all most of us have had 2 vaccines. And actually, there is data coming out of South Africa today that says the Pfizer vaccine is still 70% effective against hospitalisation and serious disease, and 30% against infection. So why are we concerned about being infected if it isn't going to harm us?
Well, that's what I wonder about as well, because you're a doctor, you'll see patients on a regular basis. I mean, is there a sense that this particular variant is now getting to more people, so that more people are possibly becoming infected with this version of COVID, but actually they're not feeling very good, they're not feeling very nice, they're not feeling very well, but they're not in any great danger?
Well, we're certainly seeing in London COVID is rife, and we are seeing lots and lots of cases. I haven't seen anyone from my practice hospitalised in the last few weeks. In fact, across the pandemic, I haven't seen that many people hospitalised, because when you look at the data, being hospitalised is actually really, really slim as a chance. What I have seen though, Mike, and this is what upsets me, is every single person I see, be they 18 or 80, feels that if they get COVID, they will die. And actually, that's the complete opposite of what's likely to happen if they get COVID.
Right, because hardly anybody dies. I mean, that's the one point I've been trying to make all the way through this for 2 years practically, that 99.9% of people who get COVID survive it, don't they?
Well, they do, but that stat is actually, that's not the right way to look at it, because actually, if you break it down across the ages, if you're 30, you've got a 99.9% chance of surviving COVID. But if you're 75, 80, 90, or you have some serious comorbidities, then your chances of dying of COVID probably go up to about 10%. So it's very different depending on your age, which is why I've always supported that what we should have done from the start is identify those people who are most likely to die, because let's face it, as a doctor, what we want is to stop people dying, and then we should have focused our efforts on them, put all of our money and everything into protecting those people and allowing the healthy young people, very unlikely to die, in fact as likely to die as flu if you're 30 and healthy as you are of COVID, then let them get on with their lives and stopping all this restriction, which has done so much harm in terms of other diseases being ignored, treatments not being able to be accessed, mental health going through the floor, children losing education. The list is endless.
Yes, and I know that you've been in touch with people.
The list is endless.
From their GPs, including messages like this. Practices have been asked to stand down all non-urgent work. Please do not phone the surgery unless you have an urgent need. We will need to cancel some booked appointments to enable us to focus on the government's COVID booster vaccination target. I mean, it seems like a sort of obsessive, boyfriend or girlfriend that you've got. They can only do one thing at a time. It's like they can't do anything else. Why do they have to put GP surgeries on hold effectively for everybody else and anything else that needs to be done?
I don't know, Mike, and this really worries me, because I really do think we are almost back to the beginning. It's like Groundhog Day, and my concern at the beginning was always going to be those people who couldn't access healthcare, who are going to get sicker, and certainly my friends working at the front line now are seeing people presenting in A&E with much, much more advanced disease than they would have had if they had been brave enough to come forward at the beginning of this when they first got their symptoms. And that's absolutely tragic. I think the long-term harm from making people scared of the NHS, or making people believe that they were doing the right thing to protect the NHS, which is not their job, by the way, it's going to live with us for decades.
Yes, exactly right. And as far as the problems in the NHS in general are concerned, they will continue to mount up, won't they? Because now we've gone back to the kind of COVID health service. We're now going to have more people not screened for cancer. We're going to have more cancer situations ignored and not dealt with quickly enough. We're going to have even more waiting times increased for people, and there are already millions and millions of people waiting for stuff. You know, when is the Department of Health going to work out that this is not the way forward?
I don't know, Mike, but if you look at everything that's going on, none of this seems to be based in science. I mean, we've got them being absolutely terrified by SAGE again and their predictions, none of which have ever come true. You know, to be told that 75,000 people will die from this variant, which is all based on Delta. If you actually look at the small print in what SAGE have said, they're basing this on the lethality ratio of Delta, for which we have no evidence. In fact, we have evidence to the contrary that it isn't that. We also have many more vaccines, many more boosters. So they're going with these fear tactics. They're going with vaccine passports because it will pass today, obviously, because Labour have decided they're part of the government. And, you know, there's no evidence for vaccine passports. In fact, if you look at what the CDC said yesterday, they looked at 42 people with Omicron and they were all fully vaccinated, and a third of them had actually had boosters. So what does a vaccine passport tell us? It tells us somebody's had a needle in their arm. It doesn't tell us they're safe. It doesn't tell us they haven't got COVID, and it doesn't tell us they're not going to spread it.
And it says now that I mean, I hear more and more from government ministers, they're calling it a COVID pass rather than a COVID passport. I'm not quite sure what the difference is. You?
I'm not sure, and I did notice that language change this morning when I was silly enough to listen to Radio 4, actually, Mike. I'm sorry.
I know. Listen, I'll forgive you just this once. Don't do it again.
It depressed me quite a lot listening to Radio 4 this morning because they also pushed Ed Davey really hard on these vaccine passports. But what they kept saying was, but surely, Ed, we've seen a study from Oxford today that says that if you put vaccine passports in, it convinces young people to have a vaccine. This is the complete anathema to proper consent for vaccines that's in the government guidance. It says that people must not be coerced. If they are, the consent is not valid. So what are we doing?
It really is bizarre, isn't it? And JB Jenkins, I think you retweeted this today. COVID cases up 41% week on week in Scotland, up 9% in England. And Scotland has a plan B that MPs in England are voting on to control COVID. So we're following what they did in Scotland, where currently they're probably looking at maybe 5 times the number of cases that we've got.
I just wanted to stop it there because what the doctor said that if patients have been coerced, and we've been arguing this point from the very get-go, that if patients have been coerced, it is not a valid consent. And that's the issue, that there has to be consent. So, you know, they're talking about coercion. I was talking about Dr. Sharma and bullying, and coercion is bullying, just so that we make that very, very clear. And I saw someone mention about Culture Safe being liquidated, and you're absolutely right. The Culture Safe is, and I know Alan very well. We used to actually work together. And so his company was just liquidated the other day because, oh gosh, you know, actually one day I should get Alan on and he can tell you his story himself. And me and him have worked together in the workplace bullying space. So, like I said before, it's a hard space to be in. But I'll carry on. I'll let this doctor, she's great. We've only got a few more minutes left, Fano, and then I want to also show the social inequities as an experiment of the $100 race. And some of you may have already seen it, but I feel it's that important because of the topic. We're talking about privilege and we're talking about bullying and how they can actually go hand in hand. So I'll shush so you can hear the rest of this video.
It's just bizarre, isn't it? I mean, if you actually have a think in mind, surely you sit back and think, hang on, none of this makes any sense. You know, a 12-year-old could put a line through this and say, no, that's not logical, that's not logical. None of it makes sense. So you then are left thinking, well, why are they doing this?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything particularly, sinister about it. I just think that they can't let it go. I think they've got themselves into this kind of cul-de-sac and they don't really know how to get out. And the only way that they can stay where they are and tread water, if you like, is to continue on with this mad idea that everybody has to get vaccinated. It's already Sajid Javid is making noises to say that, next year fully vaccinated will not be 2, it will be 3 or possibly 4. And they keep moving and shifting everything, don't they?
They do, and you look at Israel, who are now on to number 4, and people who have 3 vaccines are no longer considered fully vaccinated. And I find it really, really sad. Not because I'm saying to people don't get vaccinated, because I've always said if you're vulnerable, you're at risk, or you want to have a vaccine, then absolutely you should. But you should do it because that's what you want to do, not because you're being bullied and coerced, or life is being taken away from you as sort of the carrot being dangled out in front to make you have it. This is not medicine. It really isn't. It's not the way that we give medicines to anyone, and it shouldn't be the way we give medicines to anyone. And we shouldn't be dividing society by what medication you decide to take.
And from the point of view of herd immunity that we sort of hear about from time to time, but then it gets forgotten. And for what we know of antibody testing, and for what we know of how many people in this country have got or have had COVID and or have had a jab, at some point, surely we have to say, well, that we've now reached sort of peak saturation now, haven't we?
Yes, and I mean, I think actually, as I've said right at the beginning of this, if Omicron is as mild as the South Africans are telling us it is, it could be the Christmas gift that we've all been waiting for. It could be the variant that comes along, goes through everybody who hasn't had COVID, gives us immunity, because we know that infection actually gives you the best immunity that there is, and we reach herd immunity really quickly because it does appear to be very transmissible. And then the pandemic is over. We have an endemic coronavirus, which is like a cold, and that's the best position we could be in. The question then becomes, well, do we then dismantle everything, stop all of these boosters, because why do we need to be boosted against a cold?
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. And of course, the collateral damage in our schools will continue to be felt. I've got a text here from Jeremy who says, good morning. He said, I received an email from school yesterday advising that pupils have the correct internet medium to undertake undertake online learning in the new year in the event of further restrictions. Terrifying.
I don't want to depress you, but my daughter was actually given her slip with her sign on to Zoom 2 weeks ago, and I was told very carefully to, not discard it and to keep it. I don't even know where it is. I threw it away because you know what, Mike? My daughter is 3 years old. She goes to nursery to play with toys, and that's what she's going to do. She's not going to be on Zoom. But more worrying is the older children who go to school to be educated, and we know already that we have damaged the educational chances of these children beyond repair, that it will affect their life chances so much that it will breed more ill health, because poverty from not having good life chances breeds ill health. So we are damaging our health for this particular infection forever.
So I just want to repeat what the doctor said, that poverty breeds ill health. Oh gosh, I hope my internet connection is not going to
Should this Navy SEALs fat-burning device be illegal?
It's an ad.
This extremely powerful high-tech muscle stimulator melts.
Sorry, we've got to live with these ads.
Belly fat and makes rock-hard abs within a few short weeks.
I'll just turn it down. But I am starting to get. I'll just wait till it comes back on. If it comes on at all. But I mean, you pretty much get it in a nutshell. What the doctor's saying, it's really, her comments are exceptional. Yeah, I think I might have lost the connection, Fano. Hang on, I'll just play it to see if she's there. No. Okay, but we did get enough of it, so that might have bounced out. Didn't seem like they'd finished. So she goes on. It's what the fact that we were coerced, bullied. It's caused so much mental health issues, other health issues, and like the doctor said, Dr. Renee said that it was all about COVID, and so any other health issue was put to the side, and we've seen that, and we continue to see that that COVID is the priority, and that now we're getting into booster 3 and 4, and then maybe 5 or 6, and for a cold, because every variant gets weaker and weaker. So, and it's just that fear factor. And she said it's not based on science. So, you can actually Google or go onto YouTube and search, and you'll find more and more doctors coming out with really, even here in Aotearoa in New Zealand, coming out with really reasonable arguments about what's happening now. So I just wanted to bring that to our attention. Talk about the brave Dr. Gaurav Sharma, like I know him personally, a wonderful doctor and a wonderful man with a big heart. He went down to Wellington. He wanted to become a member of Parliament to make a difference. And the saddest thing is that the bullies end up staying in Parliament and the good ones leave. And I've seen that in workplace bullying. As an advocate in that space for many years, and the good staff leave because they've been bullied out, and because they have a conscience. And usually what happens is they see something that's happened, something that's wrong, or defend another person that's been bullied. It's someone that has a moral compass are the ones that usually are bullied. And the saddest thing about the bully and the person who's been bullied is that the bully stays, and they become more and more. They usually go up the ranks until they're leading a company or they're leading the country. So we systemically have a major issue, like the person said, that Culture Safe, Alan Hulse, who I know really well, I've known him for many, many years, was put into liquidation by a number of companies. I don't know his story fully. I did just speak to him a couple of days ago, actually, and he is going to fight this. How successful he will be, I'm not too sure. But he has supported hundreds, if not thousands, of people and saved lives along the way as well. So, Dr. Sharma, Gaurav Sharma, if you want to, go on to his page and, Facebook page, and just give him your support. So it's not these issues are really important. Bullying is really important, and I know what bullying is, and I know what it isn't as well. And politics, you've got to have thick skin. Politics, you got to have thick skin, and because you're assertive doesn't make you a bully. When you're assertive, doesn't make you a bully. And with me, I'm emotional, and I wear my emotions on my sleeve. You've all seen that, from the tears to the laughter, and every now and then to the kana. But that's who I am. That's what you see is what you get, right? But I take my hat off to Dr. Gaurav Sharma. I think it's really sad that someone like with his characteristics has been treated like that. So let's see. That's not going to be the end of it. End of that situation. Okay. The other one that I want to do is I want to share another video with you. Okay. Yeah, my connection's not the best, whānau, but we'll try and do our best. I'm just waiting for it to come online, Fano. So thanks for your patience. I appreciate that. It's still trying to load up. My connection's not the best. Here it goes. Hang on. Just got to take it back. Hopefully it's come up. No, hang on. Okay, that's not the one. Try again this time. There we go. There it is. Okay, I'll play it now.
Everybody line up! Shoulder to shoulder, take off your backpacks. Basketball, line up, we're about to race. And we are racing for a $100 bill. The winner of this race will take this. A $100 bill. Before I say go, I'm going to make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at. Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done. Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I've said has nothing to do with what you've done. We all know these people up here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start. But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race. You still got to run your race. But whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learn more about somebody else's story. Because the reality is, if this was a fair race and everybody was back on that line, I guarantee you some of these black dudes would smoke all of you. And it's only because you have this big of a head start that you're possibly going to win this race called life. That is a picture of life, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing you've done has put you in the league that you're in right now. When I say go, on your mark, get set, go! If you didn't learn anything from this activity, you're a fool.
But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth. John 3:17-18. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. So, yeah. And I've played this earlier as well, and because I talked about Sam Uffendale, and the reason why this is really important, and the reason why I know is because I know. So and there's issues around the whole National Party selection process. Well, it is what it is, right? Um, they've got their own process, but here's the part, I guess, that really grates with me: that the acts that he committed, there should, they were actually acts of criminality and acts of violence. And my point that I've been trying to make on my page, and me working in this space, working with rangatahi, working with Māori, is that usually by the age of 20, so, you hear ACT wanting to bring it back, the 3-strike rule, 3 strikes and you're out, right? I used to play softball, so I know that 3 strikes and you're out. And yeah, I was a designated batter, and which meant that I had a good eye and I could hit home runs. So I barely struck out, actually. just say, but I couldn't throw a ball to save myself. I could hit one, but I couldn't throw one. But anyway, just digressing. But the 3 strikes and you're out rule. My point that I was trying to put out the other day, before my mokopuna got sick, was that if it was a Māori boy, they usually already 2 strikes are gone before they're 20. And yes, youth do stupid things, and we're seeing that more and more of late, right? But my point is that there is privilege there, and everybody got upset. I'm not going to use the word, because I promised in that last one that I will not use skin pigmentation, but I will say Anglo-Saxon privilege or colonial privilege. And the beauty about that video is it shows you how the race of life happens and how privilege happens, and that with that Sam Uffendale, and there's more accusations coming out, that, as a young man, his 3 strikes would just about be up if he was to go through the normal process that my people go through. And that's the point that I was trying to make. And I got so much response and got so much love from some of you that you didn't actually, just sorry, the wording that I use, you got put off by the wording, and you didn't actually get to see the message that I was trying to disclose, I guess, or to show. And how do I know that? Well, Māori are 11 times more likely than their Pākehā counterparts to be shot and maimed and killed here in Aotearoa. Māori are 13 times more likely to be shot and killed, and I'm talking by the police, than their counterparts in England. And their population is 13 times ours. We are 4 times more likely to be profiled and pulled up. We are 7 times more likely to be put in prison than our Pākehā counterparts for the same crime. So many reports have been written about us, and ordinary New Zealanders don't know about this. So when a politician like myself comes out and tries to highlight, really, this is the reality, this is actually what's happening in our country, if we don't acknowledge the issue, whānau, we're not going to solve the problem. And Some of the things I bring up can be confronting, and they have to confront you because our people are dying in prison. Young lives have been lost forever because they did not get the same privilege as Sam Uffindale has received. Imagine if Māori received the same privileges as Sam Uffindale, a lot of them wouldn't even be looking at the 3 strikes and you're out. Which has, there have been international reports about the 3 strikes, and they said 1, it's inhumane, 2, it's unfair, 3, it targets poor, vulnerable brown communities, Māori communities or Indigenous communities. So those are the things that I want to talk about. And to sum it all up, because I know I've been talking to you for too long, and sometimes I can, do that. But I think that they are important issues, and they are interesting issues. Is that so? We're talking about coercion. Coercion is bullying. We talked about bullying, and then we talked about privilege, because all of that goes hand in hand, I believe. And Sam Uffindale's situation is a classic example. And if National and Labour have got major systemic moral and issues of value, then, these are the people that we are asking to make decisions on our behalf. And how's the last 2.5 years been for you? As you know, my father's just been, he's still warm. He's just only been buried. And, we went up to visit my husband's whānau today, and they were talking, there's unveilings happening, and they were talking about other tangihana that we weren't even aware of, whānau that have passed. And, they were saying they're happening, it's just ongoing. We've never, ever seen anything like it. So where are our Māori leaders looking at the carnage that vaccine injuries and vaccine deaths have caused with our whānau? Carnage. And I said, whānau, I've just buried my father. He was vaccine injured. And they go, they cannot believe that a government would do that to its citizens. And I said, well, they locked us down. They mandated us when they promised they weren't going to mandate us. They bullied us. They coerced us. They are slowly but surely eroding our rights and our freedoms. And I said to the whānau, we've got legislation sitting there now. And I said, we're moving towards a social credit system. And they said, what's that? What's a social credit system? I said, it's called enslavement. What I'm standing up for is I'm trying to protect the future of and I said, our mokopuna. Well, our children, actually. So, but I just wanted to, have you heard of the Stockholm Syndrome? And I want to sort of peel away at this a little bit more, but I want to use this as a bit of a teaser, and my next live, hopefully, come back and talk to you more about that. So our moko's out of hospital, but still not well. So I don't know when my next live is going to be. But Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological condition that occurs when a victim of abuse identifies and attaches or bonds positively with their abuser. So if you look about what's happening in our country, because I'm saying to you now, we have been abused by our government. We have been bullied by our government. And Dr. Sharma has just shared intimate experience that he's experienced, and this is, I think this is going to blow up. It's going to blow up big time. because there has to be a turning point. There has to be a turning point when enough is enough. But anyway, carrying on with the this article. The syndrome was originally observed when hostages were kidnapped, not only bonded with their kidnappers, but also fell in love with them. Professionals have expanded the definition of Stockholm Syndrome to include any relationship in which victims of abuse develop a strong, loyal attachment to the perpetrators of abuse. Some of the populations affected with this condition include concentration camps. Wow. Prisoners of war. Abused children. Incest survivors. Victims of domestic violence. Cult members. People in toxic work and church environments. The characteristics of Stockholm Syndrome. It may be easier to understand Stockholm Syndrome as an actual survival strategy for the victims, because it seems to increase the victim's chances of survival. So I'm going to leave it at that, because I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts about it, but I just want to lay it out there for you to consider, right? And, let us go on this journey together. Let us learn together. And I just want to thank you for joining me so late at night. You are awesome. So thank you to Joseph Grands, Marion Tupaya. Hang on, I'll just carry on. Joseph again. And I do. I will. I just haven't got a chance tonight because it's pretty late. But I do read your comments. And usually put a like or a heart there, or sometimes I comment, just depending on my time. But thank you, Mary. Thank you all of you for tuning in, adding really long, thoughtful comments. So Fano, please, when people comment on our page, engage with those comments, because they're not just commenting to me, they're commenting to you as well. And this is what this is all about. Even though I can't see you, I can read your comments, I can't engage with you, but it is about that engagement, and it is about us going on this journey together. So I'm going to love yous and leave you. Thank you, TK. Thank you, Anna. You fellas are awesome. Sada, kia ora. Paul, kia ora. Mary, Lindsay, Trish, Marion. Oh, you fellas are awesome. Michelle, Tia, Naveen, Sharon. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. I really do apologize, because if there's anything that's important to people, it's the pronunciation of their names. So anyway, Fano, George, thank you. May, thank you. Mary, Priscilla, Haley, thank you all so much. Alfred, Anna, for tuning in. Okay, kia pai tō pō, and we'll catch up again soon. Ka kite anō, kia ora rā. Ka kite.